Consequence Podcast Network.
Welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with an audio interview series presented by WFPK Independent Louisville, Consequence of Sound, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Wherever you're listening from, please do consider subscribing from that area, leaving a rating or review if they allow that as well, and doing us a big service over here. I'm Kyle Meredith. Today, my guest, Ace of Base. You know, it's been 25 years since they released their debut record. We call it The Sign over here in America. It's also called Happy Nation around the rest of the world. I got to talk with them about the creation of that record, how they came up with that interesting pop-reggae sound that they did. We're also going to talk about the 20th anniversary of an album in Europe they call Flowers. Over here, we call Cruel Summer. There's going to be a lot of explanation about how they ended up with two album titles for just about every one of their big records. You'll also find out if there's even a possibility of a reunion in the future, and how it would be really cool if folks like Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, who have counted Ace of Base's influences, would just cover the band. It's Kyle Meredith with Ace of Base. Well, we're sort of talking about two anniversaries. One of them's an odd anniversary because it's your debut record, which is the 25th, and the debut record of Ace of Base, which is the 25th anniversary for the U.S. version, I should say, because it's a bit of a difficult story because I guess it came out in different places around the world.
It did. We have many releases and so on, so I have a lot of things to celebrate.
Well, I feel like you've been celebrating the 25th anniversary of this for 2 or 3 years, if you wanted to.
Yeah. No, we haven't done it properly, actually, but we should have had, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
Not so much.
Yeah, so we'll call it by both of the titles, Happy Nation and The Sign, as it was re-released over here. I wanted to jump back, though, 25 years ago. Listening back on that, you know, you all had that knack for that reggae sound, which geographically, you know, we're nowhere near where you guys grew up, you know, in the reggae environment. How did that sound come to Ace of Base?
Me and Ulf, we had the same rehearsal rooms, whatever studios, that Black Reggae Band had. And they asked us, because we have a lot of technical gears and equipment, if we could produce two of their songs. And we say, yeah, why not? So we did that. And one song is called Passageway, actually. A very good song. And with trumpets, and they really liked it because it became a very interesting mix. And yeah, we liked reggae music, both me and Ulf. And I heard some Dr. Alban, No Code, and thought, I can do that. But it wasn't my first pick of music, but we tried that, and that song became Mr. Ace, later transformed to All That You Want.
Once things got started, once you found that sound, once the demo found its way out there, as I read, it sort of had to happen very quickly at that point. Did I read right that the entire record was recorded in 2 weeks? Were all the songs written?
The whole record, no, it took a long time. I think, especially in Europe, and some of the songs also on the, I would say, American version, the Sign version, is songs from our, demo studio, or whatever, that actually ended as they were on the actual album, because we didn't have time to record all the songs, but it didn't take 2 weeks for sure. It was much longer, but some of the songs actually are demos for the record company. But it much longer than 2 weeks anyway. But we had on the American version, whatever you say, The Sign, we added some songs, and those took some time. Maybe those songs maybe took 2 weeks to record.
Kind of interesting for an artist when that happens and you're faced with having just to put your demo versions out there. Were you okay with that at the time, or was there a wish that you could have held back and worked on that more?
I think actually it gave especially the Europe version, but also the American, some interesting dynamics because it sounds different. And I think that many people say that we have kind of half, invented pop-reggae, but I think actually what we did, or what became it, was that we were the first artist to do a collection album on different styles of music with two voices, with the same voices. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, no,
Because
I do.
before us, you have to do rock and maybe two ballads, or you should do hip hop, or you should do only reggae, or you should only be up tempo disco band, whatever. You should do only funk, and we kind of blended that into an album, and that also because of the demos make it very special or odd or unique or whatever you say.
Yeah, no, and which is how especially younger listeners treat music these days. Gone are the days when people had to pick one genre to be a fan of. Now that's how they list it all the time. So to have that as a strong influence.
Yeah, nowadays it's no problem to have maybe a pop song, maybe a bit more rocky song, and maybe a rock song, or maybe have a hip hop influences with the same group. But that didn't happen often then, for sure.
You have a lot of big artists, recent big artists, who have called you guys an influence because of what you're talking about right there, because of those great sounds. I know Katy Perry from Lady Gaga and all of those. Do any of those ever reach out to you all for anything?
Yeah, sometimes, not very often. Actually, I've heard very few covers of our music. Have you heard many?
I haven't heard many, but that's
very few. That's strange, isn't it?
It is very strange, and I hadn't considered that. It seems like really a great time for somebody to put together one of those great tribute albums. Get a bunch of big artists who have called you an influence to put their stamp on the songs as well. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll head down the decade a little bit to 1998 because I know you're also celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Flowers record, which again here in the U.S. had a different name with "Cruel Summer," which was the lead single and cover that you guys did.
Yeah.
Now, was it ever? How did it affect you guys that it was always this push and pull that the release was one way in the U.K. but very different in the U.S.?
It was very strange, that song "Life Is a Flower," and that's what we call the album "Flowers." But I played that song to Clive Davis, and he said that there is a boatsman or seaman in the Navy. You say whistle down the wind, kind of you have flow, You don't whistle against the wind. You feel good. You whistle down the wind.
Mm-hmm.
It's a term how you say it. And he said to me that, this bad English, you can, there's nothing called whistle down the wind, blah, 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 blah. You don't know English, blah, blah. And he asked a friend to do a new lyrics, and then it ended up Whenever You're Near Me. But the interesting thing was, I think maybe 2 years later, I met Clive Davis again. And then Andrew Lloyd Webber did an opera called Whistle Down the Wind. And I said to him, don't Andrew Lloyd Webber either know English? Kind of funny. Yeah.
I mean, Clive changed so many things, and I'm sure some of them, might have been for the better, and some of them not.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
But as an artist, that has to be so frustrating because that's your stamp. This is what you want to say. I mean, I think the term too European, I don't think I've ever agreed on that because a catchy song is a catchy song.
It is. I know, but that song "Life Is a Flower," it was released in England, and of course they know English in England. So. And it became, I think, number 5 or something in England. But sometimes, it was difficult to understand. We had to do many extra videos also for the States because of many reasons.
Yeah.
We did double versions of videos.
Now, do you have do you have a preference for which version of the album that you prefer today?
I would pick the European.
Yeah.
Well, it's more vivid. It's more different and. A bit better, I think. But the American one is also good, and no problem.
I know that was also a big transitional time for you all because you were sort of changing the roles and the vocals at the time.
Yeah, Lynn didn't want to sing after 95, more or less. And difficult because it said in the contract that she has to sing, So you had to squeeze some vocals in, and very, very complicated for me. I had a heartburn you said that, heartburn for 6 years, almost every day, because a lot of pressure for me, for sure. She didn't want to sing, and Jenny wanted to sing, but the record company said that Lynn has to sing. Oh, it's difficult for a brother, for sure.
Now that we can look back, it's all in the rearview mirror. In hindsight, it all seems sort of silly, the pressure that the label was putting on you to do these changes when should have just let you do what you wanted to do.
Yeah, but because they wanted. They said to me, "Why don't you do the music and Lynn sing all the vocals?" And it was difficult because all the band wanted to be involved with the music, and Lynn didn't want to sing. So stressful for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, did you at least have some chances to have fun in all of this, though? Because you were still, you'd had 2 successful albums, going into this one. Yeah. Were you able to still, were there the good moments there as well?
Not as many as before, but we had a real good release party in Stockholm with a Flowers concert album. That was a lot of fun, for sure. Yeah. But, we had some good moments, and I liked that album very much, actually.
Now, will you all be celebrating these albums in any way? Are there any deluxe issues or just anything that planned to commemorate the records?
Not to what I'll talk to Jenny a little bit about it, but not to do something, because most people want to have all 4 of us, and Lynn doesn't want to show up, kind of. So it's difficult to do something that is interesting for people. We are kind of 2 or 3 people, and they want to have 4, so it's kind of we are kind of lame.
Yeah, no, it's a shame, because I feel like you guys could pull it off with 3. I mean, I think if people wanted it bad enough, they would be more than happy with the 3 of you doing some stuff. I certainly would.
Yeah, we did some stuff, actually, and good stuff, I think. But we always got the same question: where is Malin? She's in Gothenburg. I have 4 children now, and I'm still writing music. Maybe 1 song each fortnight or something.
Oh yeah.
I don't record so much, but I write a lot, actually.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's just like therapy. I have to do it. It's fun. And maybe if we will do a reunion, or maybe if somebody will do a cover with us or for us, or I have songs for it. Oh.
Yeah, have you ever considered doing any type of solo record and just pulling in other guests to do the songs, giving those folks the calls?
Yeah. Actually, me and Ulf have talked about some things, maybe to use things from the old songs as samples, kind of, and do new songs with it.
Oh, yeah.
To have some spice from the old, kind of maybe half verse, and then twist it around maybe, and have it in a new song with maybe a new chorus, and maybe I think something like that could be interesting. I don't think so many people have done that.
Cool. I would love to hear that. Well, we'll put this interview out into the world, and hopefully somebody will hear it, and we can get something started.
Okay. Cool.
Be a lot of fun. All right. Thank you, Jonas, for the call today. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. Take care then.
All right. You take care too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks to Jonas from Ace of Base for giving me that call today. Hey, don't forget, you can subscribe to Consequence of Sound's YouTube page to keep up with your favorite artists and interviews. And for you podcast listeners, iTunes, Podchaser, wherever you're listening from, please do consider giving us a rating and a review. It really, really helps. And then you can head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show every Monday through Thursday from noon to 3 Eastern. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.
Consequence Podcast Network.